The Headless Horseman is a spectral rider that can be spotted anywhere in Skyrim at night. His identity is a total mystery, and it is unknown why he exists at all, but there are some in-game clues that perhaps point to this mysterious ghost's true identity, and by implication why he roams Skyrim. Perhaps the most obvious identity for the Headless Horseman might be that of Hamvir. Every night the horseman's journey ends at Hamvir's Rest, which is a Nordic tomb located at the foot of the south side of the mountain range between Whiterun and Hjalmarch. There are a few skeletons patrolling this above ground tomb, but most importantly there is a Draugr who could possibly be the dead body of Hamvir and thus the Headless Horseman. But associating Hamvir with the Headless Horseman is not a conclusion that's entirely supported. The Headless Horseman is, well, headless, and the Draugr obviously has a head. Maybe someone sewed Hamvir's head back on, but there is no evidence to suggest that this is the case because the Draugr simply looks like a normal undead Nord. So I'm not inclined to fully suggest that Hamvir is the Headless Horseman. Rather, there might actually be a better explanation for who the Headless Horseman is and why he haunts the earth. Ragnar the Vet is a figure any Skyrim player will be familiar with. The bards of Skyrim always tell his tale in taverns, from the Silverblood Inn to the Bee and Barb, the Bannered Mare to the Nightgate Inn. To paraphrase the song that is commonly sung in his name, this famous figure was apparently a sellsword or a cutthroat, and one day he travelled from Rorikstead to Whiterun on horseback, telling the people he met in Whiterun, presumably at the tavern, about his fame, riches and exploits. After a while, his boasts became annoying, so the shield maiden Matilda chopped off his head. If this legend has some truth to it, then no doubt it has been embellished, and it's probable that Ragnar did something more provocative than boast to deserve death. Nonetheless, the Reddit user Guitar Gusto has suggested that perhaps following the altercation, the man was buried in a shallow grave outside Whiterun, the one now called Hamvir's Rest. There's no telling how long ago Ragnar lived, so it could be that the tomb visible in Skyrim was unknowingly constructed over Ragnar's burial mound hundreds of years after his death, hence why the location is named after Hamvir. But there's still the question of why the ghost exists at all. Even if Ragnar has no head, is that a fact that necessitates his inability to fully die and thus roam the wilds as a ghost for all eternity? In Skyrim, ghosts only linger in the mortal plane if they have unfinished business or are cursed, so maybe the Headless Horseman lingers on because of any of the following reasons. It could be that contrary to the song, which described Matilda as beating Ragnar in combat, in actuality she could have stabbed him or used magic against him without him being prepared. Thus his ghost roams the earth because he feels as if he's been cheated. For a man who boasted so much about his skill at fighting, it would be dishonourable and unfair for him to die in such a way. Alternatively, it could be that Ragnar feels humiliated to have lost to a woman of all people. The song does seem to suggest that the Shield Maiden defeated Ragnar in fair combat, man to woman, and maybe this fact haunts Ragnar to the extent he walks the earth. Although it could simply be down to the fact that he was never properly buried. Typically, Nords are buried in tombs beneath the earth with or within a ship. Ragnar was simply buried in a shallow grave that would later be obscured by another burial site, a fact that perhaps stirred his aspirations wandering. However, this doesn't seem to make too much sense because surely there have been hundreds, if not thousands of Nords throughout history buried in shallow graves, or not buried at all, so why aren't there more ghosts? Ultimately, it's probably the case that I'm reading too much into the Headless Horseman. He's probably just a reference to Ragnar the Vet that Bethesda thought would be fun to include in the game. But whilst this all might seem light-hearted, on another level it's quite sad that this man, clearly once so proud, now has to roam headless for all eternity through Skyrim. Thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed then feel free to subscribe. If you want to go that extra mile then please do feel free to check out my Patreon, but of course there's no need to do so whatsoever. Simply watching my videos is more than enough. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.